What's going on, everybody? This is Ken Posick here in Orlando, Florida, and this is the Content Lab, where we talk about all things content marketing. We talk about YouTube, we talk about Instagram, we talk about TikTok, we talk about email newsletters and blogging and everything in between. Today, I've got an amazing friend of mine from Michigan, Mr. Paul. How are you today?
Doing all right. How are you today?
Oh man, doing really well. Doing really very well, actually. So tell us where you're from and like what is it that you do?
So I am from the Metro Detroit market. So a place that you know very well. So
Yep.
The Detroit market, not really Detroit. And I sell real estate and most of it comes from YouTube. So
YouTube. And so how long have you been in real estate in general?
I've been in real estate for 11 years now. I believe 11 years.
Nice.
So,
How long have and were you like how long have you been doing YouTube like as a main lead lever for you?
I started YouTube at the beginning of the pandemic. So, or maybe not the beginning, but like when we were not allowed to show houses, I was like, oh man, I need to do something. I need to figure something out. So I couldn't go and do like Instagram stories or anything about home. So I had to sit in an office and figure something out. And that's where YouTube came into play.
Dude, that's so cool. So yeah, you're sitting in Detroit, which you guys were closed for a little bit longer than we were here in Florida. Like we were back open. They're like, COVID? What's COVID? Or like your guys, they shut you down. Like you are not allowed to show houses for a while. Like you seemed essential for a while. So you're like, I'm going to figure out YouTube along the way.
Yep. So I had to figure something out. So I started with YouTube, and I had a few discussions with you, I think, along the way, right in the early stages, where I was trying to navigate the world of YouTube. And I think we're all still trying to figure out what the best actions are to take in the YouTube world for real estate, because it's such a weird thing. So that's what I've been cranking along with ever since then.
Yeah. So how is it? How are things? So catch us up till today, and then we'll get a little bit more tactical. So what does that look like today? Like, I mean, what's your business like because of YouTube?
YouTube. So directly from YouTube, I'd say 80 million or so has come directly from YouTube. No ads or anything like that. So completely organic, which, it's changed my life. It was when they say game changing thing, like it really was. But then it was just trying to figure out how to navigate, like what content to create, what was the right content to create to attract the type of business I wanted. And so like I've been able to sort of engineer my life in a weird way, like by focusing on areas that I want to work and attracting that type of business. I don't know if it was I don't know if I heard you speak somewhere, or if it was one of our talks, but you mentioned if you did come back to Metro Detroit, like the content that you would create. And I'm like, that's a pretty good idea. So, and that's essentially what I did. And so I went for higher price points, areas that I wanted to be in. And my numbers have stayed about the same, but my dollar amount has gone up. So it's been fantastic.
Dude, that's wild. So I don't want to breeze over that you've closed $80 million from YouTube. Like you're a YouTube millionaire, Paul.
Thanks.
Bro, no, it's so cool to see. And you're right. So if I was going to go back to Michigan, for those who don't know, I grew up in Metro Detroit, where Paul's at. Like I'd go to the suburbs, and like that's the cool thing about you can create the content that you want to for the client that you want to attract. And so like unpack that for us. Like, is it just, you just decided like, hey, I'm going to go up the road where average sales price is $1 million, and which is not normal in Detroit. Like unpack that for us.
Yeah. So that's essentially what I did. So I started out by creating content. If you go, all my stuff's still out there. You can go back and track my YouTube growth, and you can see where I was creating content at the time. And then as I decided to move, more towards the higher priced areas. So I know a lot of people out there don't understand the Metro Detroit market, and the Metro Detroit market's very weird. Like you could create a bunch of content about Detroit proper, and you'll get a lot of mixed stuff. Like it's not, you can have a $10 house and you can have a multi-million-dollar house. So it's a very wide range. And then you have the suburbs.
Yeah.
So that's what I focused on, the higher price suburbs and people relocating here, and that's where everything changed for me.
Yeah, I feel like it's interesting because like Metro Detroit, like you think about Detroit, we've said this before, like in our private conversations, is like, people maybe where they're with GM or Ford or some of these major companies, Visteon, whatever, they're getting relocated and like their husband or wife is at home. Like, are we sure we want to move to Detroit? And then they Google it, and lo and behold, Paul's face pops up, and like, oh, that dude looks like he knows stuff, and they click on you, and all of a sudden, like they're in your world, and then 20 minutes later, they're like, man, I just watched this deep dive on West Bloomfield, and this guy is our dude, right? And so the cool thing about that is like, there's not a lot of other people doing it to the level that you're doing it and being as consistent as you have been. Like how many videos have you put out over the past 4 years?
So I would actually, I've been consistent, but not consistent. So I've been very, very focused on the stuff that I'm creating. So I've only created a little over 100 videos. So it's not a lot, but it's high leverage videos. So I tried to take like when I drew it out and I wanted to attract people into my world that were first searching for Michigan, and then searching for the suburbs to live in, so that the individual counties and then the city specifically. And then more recently, then I started to do the weird super long videos that have attracted a ton of eyeballs, which has been really cool. And I feel like a lot of creators have some sort of journey like that. Like, I saw you had like a Shaq's house video. So
Sure.
It's probably one of the biggest videos you have.
Oh, easily.
And so, one of the YouTube people out there, they call it the mass appeal method. So that's what I tried to follow along with, to just get people into my world and then serve them up all the stuff that they might want.
So let's talk about that little iteration. So I know I got your channel up over here. So Detroit and beyond, because it is kind of, I think, that's the tough thing about living in a metro area,
man,
where you sell like other areas and not just the city of Detroit. Like, go figure, like Paul doesn't want to sell like maybe some areas of town.
Other houses.
Yeah. But like when you're moving to the area, all you know is the city. And so like, I think that's a cool brand. And I like that you used your name and that sort of thing. But let's talk, we can't watch these entire videos because they're just absolutely massive. But some of these that you were like 920.
So if you go down, so let me see here. So the popular videos, it's so the mega mansions, right? So like big places, really. And what I discovered in making these videos is YouTube really likes it when you keep people on the platform for a long time. So that's when I started making actual ad revenue from YouTube. Like my high month was like a little over $7,000 in ad rev from YouTube.
Yeah.
And now it's right around 2,000 plus. Like it dips to like the 2K, but like that's that's decent.
Well,
I'll take it.
Yeah, heck yeah. I mean, especially, I don't know if you've got, well, actually, I want to dive into some of your strategy. Who, like, are you editing all this kind of stuff? But that's an easy way for you to offset. Like, I usually make $2,000 to $3,000 a month, depending on the month, from YouTube. And it's like, that doesn't cover a videographer, but it goes towards it, right? It offsets it, which is already like one of the best ROI things you can do. But then, lo and behold, it's almost like, hey, like you can't spend money on Zillow and then say, hey, because I'm advertising on Zillow, I get 40% back. Like that doesn't exist, right? Or but on YouTube, it does. It's like, hey, I spent X amount of dollars on content creation. YouTube rewards me because the content was good. So I get to offset some of my costs. And in turn, basically, the better you are, the cheaper it gets, which is awesome.
I love it. Yeah. So, I mean, like it's been great. One of the best videos I created, actually, it's no longer on my channel. Somebody asked me to take it down, and it'll probably be going back up soon. It was a whole legal thing. But just seeing that growth from these super long videos, it's great. Like I just did the most overpriced city in the USA. Like it's down there.
What is it?
So it's essentially just a long tour of Birmingham, Michigan. And it is, so it's 2 home tours. It's me walking around. It is, it's great. I mean, like it's something that I don't feel like everybody's going to want to watch that, but the right person, at the right time, looking for that video, it doesn't do the type of views that you get on your city videos, but it's doing all right. I mean, it's a very small community.
Dude, it is. It's a very small community. And so I noticed here, like, so I explored America's most overpriced city. So two questions that pop up to that. Like, do you think people in Birmingham, did they give you garbage in the comments? Were like, screw this guy. He doesn't know anything about Birmingham.
No, no. What I get, if you look through the comments, I get people who are like, it's not the most expensive city. I'm like, I didn't say it was the most expensive city. That's not what I said. They're like, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. And then I get a lot of people who are from Birmingham or they grew up in Birmingham, a lot of nostalgia posts if you read through that. So it's nobody's denying that it's expensive. The average list price on a home in there is 1.6 million now. So it's nuts, right? Like for the size of the city. And Metro Detroit was just named the most overpriced suburb or whatever in the country. So Birmingham would be the most overpriced city in America. Like, whatever. We're massaging the words a little bit. That, that's what YouTube's all about.
That's right. So do you feel like this was when you created this video, and by the way, it's 48 minutes long. And so when you created this video, did you feel like, I'm going to do this for my current subscribers to have deeper understanding that I know what the heck I'm talking about? Or was it, I hope this thing kind of goes viral on its own and I'm going to collect, 5% of those people that might be in Michigan or something like that? Did you unpack your thought process there?
It was more discoverability. So it's more of I knew that it wouldn't be it's not as consumable as a mansion tour, a mega mansion tour. Like not everybody's interested in that. But what I've been doing for the past couple of years is I've sort of shut off my my focus on other YouTube creators, like in our space, in the real estate space.
Yep.
And I've started to explore other creators in other spaces to try to get ideas like on what they're doing. Yeah. Like travel vloggers, van life people, urban explorers, everything like that. So I'm trying to grab ideas from other people. So I didn't expect it to go totally viral, but I'm trying to bring more people into my world to show that I can tour places, because that's a lot of my business is like I don't meet with the client at all. Like it's me touring a house with a video, and then they sign the paperwork and they're in California or wherever, and we're done. Yeah, right? Like it's a wild world that we live in now. So I was trying to capture more of that, and I think that I have.
I agree. And so when I look at that, like the whole inside a massive 6-unit shipping container. So doesn't say anything about Metro Detroit, right? So you're going a little broader there, but then go ahead.
I think it does. I think it like near Detroit. I think it says near Detroit. It's just but like it does. It says near Detroit or something like that.
So the ellipsis got cut off or whatever. But here's this one like inside a $22 million mega mansion near Detroit, exploring Detroit's biggest mega mansion. How much are you spending time on the titles to make sure that this hits your ideal viewer, discoverable?
So I work more on the packaging of a video than the actual the content creation part is big. But for me, I'm thinking about that title and thumbnail before I'm even doing anything else. So I'm trying to figure out like how am I going to how I'm going to create the content secondary. So that's just the way that I've been doing it. I don't know, for the past year or so, because before I'd shoot a video and then now I need to think about a thumbnail and a title. And then it just didn't really resonate. So doing it the opposite way, like figuring out a cool thumbnail and a title, I still change them up a little bit if I don't feel like they're working. I mean,
but don't I don't want to gloss over that, because this is actually a Mr. Beast model, right? He talks about before he even shoots a video, he thinks about what the thumbnail is going to look like. And if you shoot the video knowing what the title is going to be in mind, it helps you kind of repackage what you're shooting and how you're editing, right? I mean, so was it always that way for you? And like, what's been the difference now that you have that kind of going on for you?
No, it definitely hasn't always been. So before it was, I'm going to shoot this video and then I'll figure out a cool thumbnail and a title, like sort of secondary.
Did it ever perform still?
Did they ever perform?
Yeah,
they did all right, but they're not the same. Like it's not the same type of views, right? Like it's not right. Like when it's intentional, when you're trying to get the click,
right?
It's just different. So like these videos that you're seeing right here, the 6 containers, like I knew what that would look like. I was going to tour that house. I knew exactly what that would look like. The older videos, I've messed around with those so many times. I've changed so many things with those. But I knew that like the title for that one was going to be I explored Michigan's most overpriced or America's most overpriced city. Like I knew that like before I shot the video, like I had it templated out almost like an itinerary of things I was going to hit on, just so that people could follow along. And like, I'm looking for, I'm in this to sell real estate, but
of course,
the AdSense thing is not a bad gig at all. So when you're doing videos about higher priced things, YouTube likes to put more expensive ads on your stuff. So
I love that. Exactly. The cost per million or the CPM, like they're going to spend more on you than they would like an unboxing video of some kids' toys or something. Right. So in that, like, so you've messed with these bottom thumbnails already as well, or are these kind of like earlier iterations?
They're earlier. A lot of them I haven't messed with in a long time. So like the Michigan pros and cons, like that was like my first, like that was one of the best performing thumbnails I'd ever created. So I just left it. So I've left that for a really long time.
What's a good click-through look like for you these days?
Like 8, I think it's 7 or 8 is pretty good. I mean, but on those super big ones, YouTube they'll give you a little notice. They're like, click-through rate is down on this because it's going out to a bigger audience. So chill out. You're
going to be okay. Yeah, that's always, and then like the longer the videos go and the more it tries to like, because I feel like eventually YouTube starts thinking like, I'm just going to keep trying different people. Let's see how far the reach can go. And then all of a sudden the click-through rate, the longer it seems that my stuff is on my channel, the worse the rate gets, if that makes sense. So I usually
go ahead. What's a good click-through rate for you?
First 48 hours, like 12 to 13%. And then usually after a week, it's dropping down to like that 8 to 9. And then, like some of the ones that like I did one of my more recent property tours that was like an expensive one. I think we're down to like 4% click-through rate, but it has 170,000 views. And so it's interesting to see like the longer it goes, the worse the click-through rate goes, even though I'm getting a lot more organic reach. And so, I try not to get too caught up in that. And that's the thing, like, well, I just lied, but like I am very caught up into it, but like I try not to say like, oh, it's performing badly over time. Like I care about the first 48 hours. I feel like if I crushed it on the first 48 hours, then I did something right. And then I'm not going to mess with it too much. If 24 hours goes by and like all of a sudden I've got a 7% click-through rate, I'm like, oh, that thumbnail is garbage, or maybe it didn't match the title, or all that sort of thing. And then I'm also starting to do the A, B, and C tests. Have you played with that at all?
I don't have access to it yet.
What? How is it possible?
I know.
It's like everybody now.
I know. We've got a bunch of friends that keep sending me like check this out. Like, I don't have access to it.
No, I don't believe. I think it's on literally everybody's now. I don't think you have to have a certain like size of a channel.
I don't think I have it.
Sidebar afterwards.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, like YouTube had rolled out this thing. It used to be for, I think you had to have like 1 million subs, and I thought they rolled it out to everybody, but maybe they just don't like Paul.
I guess.
But you can actually upload 3 thumbnails, and then it'll show 3 different ones at a time, and then they do it over a week. And basically after the week's up, it will pick the best performing one, not by click-through rate, but click-through rate to watch time, which is what I think we all want, right? It's going to say, okay, if they clicked on this and they watched 10 minutes of a 15-minute video, that's a great thumbnail. That's the one we're going to use and run through. Talk about watch time. Like that's a good little segue. So like, how do you keep people watching?
Well, in the super long videos, it's difficult because in the super long videos, they're crazy long, right? And so it's not really as much for retention. So it's not retention like fast-paced editing. And like I have a lot of comments from people who are like, I had saved this video, I came back to it later, and you see a lot of peaks and valleys where people will be coming back to it. So like a 48-minute video, I'll have like a 10-minute average watch time, but like it's weird, like how people come into those because they'll come in, they'll watch them, they'll leave, they'll come in and they'll watch them again. And that's what I'm hearing from a lot of people. So I think it's hard to measure when you have those. I mean, they're long. They're, the one that's turned off right now, it was, what's the longest long form videos go? Okay, this is perfect. The one that's turned off right now, it got up to, so it was a little over an hour, or it was 1 hour and like 10 minutes long. So crazy, right? It hit 76,000 views in the course of like just a few days, and it made me close to 2,000 in ad revenue. And
Wow.
and this was like 5 or 6 days.
And are you editing all of that yourself, or is it?
No. So I have a sweet team of editors so I've got, I use a company. They've got a bunch of, they're based out of the UK, but they're a group of great people that, depending on the type of video I'm sending to them, they're going to chop it up for me. And when I first proposed the idea of these crazy, and they're like, no, you can't do that. And I'm like, I don't think, like, what I'm looking for is, I'm looking for an urban explorer type experience where like you're going to visit this property with me. Let's see what happens. So very minimal on edits for those. Because I've been doing property tours for a long time. I think a lot of people think that like I just jumped into it, but I've been doing it for a long time. But I've just started. I had like a videographer that would follow me around, and like that's all cool. But I've been trying to figure out how to make it. I saw some YouTuber who was like, I just scaled everything back, and I was like, what would this look like if it were easy, as easy as possible?
Yeah.
Because those urban explorers go in with a cell phone or a GoPro, and they've got 1 million views in the course of a couple days.
Because it feels like you're there with them, right? And I think like we've actually been focusing more on that with my team. Like I've been saying, like some of this stuff's like almost overly produced. Like I don't want people to feel like they're watching HGTV. I want them to feel like they came along with me, and they felt like at the end, I could go have a beer with Ken, is what I want them to feel like. I don't want them to feel like I'm like this untouchable celebrity. And so, and inevitably they will, but like, I want that feeling. Right. And so the urban explorer, you're like, the reason why you can't look away is because you're like, damn, I feel like I'm going to miss something if I look away, or, like you're like so tied into it. So I think it's a brilliant move. So you're an individual guy. Like you don't have this massive team. You got the editors. What's the rest of your support staff to look like to sell, over 20 million in Detroit?
I have a full-time assistant, so admin assistant, who does all my contract work, scheduling, and everything like that. I have a couple showing assistants who will show properties for me if I'm not available. I pay hourly and bonus. And then I have a bunch of agents throughout the state that I can kick off deals to if they're in there. Because inevitably, if you start a channel like this, especially if you have a lot of statewide stuff, as you know, you're going to get like, how much referral business do you do every year?
A lot, yeah. So we'll probably close like 50 inbound and 30 outbound.
Right. So like when you're like a content machine, like you are a content machine.
Getting there.
So I have a number of agents across the state that I trust, that I know that if I pass something off to, like, I don't want to have to worry about it. I don't want to babysit somebody to get a deal closed. So it's a very loose team structure. I know of a lot of teams that operate at the same size and they consider themselves full teams. I don't consider myself a team though.
Yeah.
It works for me right now.
Highly produced, highly
leveraged
is a great word. Ramon
has a leveraged solo agent.
Yeah, dude, I think that's perfect. Ramon has, or Raymond has it too. Do you think that city neighborhood tours should be on a separate channel from videos that are solely home tours? What do you say?
Well, what do you think? And I'll tell you what I think.
Dang, I think they can be on the same channel. I think it's like, I'm always about respect the subscriber. So if I think that the subscriber will care about a video home tour and a city tour, then great, you're on the right track for your channel. But if like you're doing, I don't know, that's the way I look at it. So I think if you're popping around all of like Innis or one of these other big ones that have like 2, 3, 4 million subscribers, and you're popping around all over the world, people came there for home tours, and that's all they want to see is home tours. But if like they came to your channel because they're like, oh, Paul knows everything about Detroit, then they're going to care about neighborhood tours and home tours. That's the way I go. Although we don't split them up anyways, but go ahead.
I mean, I agree with you 1,000%. I think that where it gets dicey, if I went into the city tour of Orlando, like that would make no sense.
Made no sense.
0 sense. And that's where I think it gets a little weird. Like a lot of creators in our space will start to make content that's directed towards just the mass like everybody who is interested in real estate or comedic stuff that's just for other real estate agents. And it's just like, I think that as long as it's still in the world of what you do, where my mansion tours are still in the world of what I do. Right. And so if somebody's interested in that, and then they, on the sidebar, it shows another video that is me talking about a Metro Detroit neighborhood, it aligns. I think it still makes sense. So I'm with you on that.
Yeah, right on. I feel like you got to know yourself. Like, you're making a ton of money from the ad revenue, which is great, but like, you're also like, you make money from selling houses. And so I think some people, they want to be, whether they're a comedian or they want to be like all things to all people. And they think, well, if I have this huge audience, well, great, then you better understand that you're going after the monetization play. You're not going to probably care about the leads as much. All you want is YouTube to send you a check, which is fine, by the way. Like, you have to know the difference. And if you're not clear that, like, I can't be all things to all people and also try to get leads in my hometown, you got to know the difference.
Yep. I agree. Again, 1,000%. Like, when I see things that are trying to be all things to all people, I don't think that really works. Like, I wouldn't go and tour a mansion in California because that wouldn't be in the world or one of the buckets of content that I would create. So,
So then in the buckets, like, what are your, is it home tours, area tours? Do you add a third or fourth, or is it you just stay in those two and kind of oscillate back and forth?
Well, so in all of my buyer consults, in all of my consultations that I have with people, I always ask them, like, what's the content that drove you to me? Because there's been a lot of other content creators that have popped up in the Metro Detroit area, and it's always cool to figure out what ended up, why did you end up choosing me?
It was the Porsche.
And it was what?
It was the Porsche. Yeah.
That's it. That's
the
reason.
Go buy a Porsche. Have a good day, guys.
Yep. See it. And the reason they usually say it's the map. A lot of times it's map videos. So it's the videos that are like very low views, but it's videos where I'm breaking down individual areas, like where you should live, the price points in the different areas, but they find me because of the other stuff. So my content buckets are, I need to have mass appeal, right? So for me, I need to have that broad reach of Michigan. And then it's the cities and neighborhoods, and then the home tours, and then the map videos. So it's this weird bucketed thing, but I figure, now that I'm doing a lot of home tours for buyers and then they don't ever meet me, I should probably have a lot of those on my channel to show that I can actually do it. Right. So I have weird buckets. Weird, funky buckets.
No, that makes sense. I mean, again, it's going like, your broad is still very narrow. And at the end of the day, like, you're trying to take them through this funnel of, like, I put them in the top of this big funnel. They find Michigan, then they find Detroit, then they find that I know I'm a real estate agent, and then they reach out. How are people reaching out to you, by the way? Do you have a call to action? And if people want to refer, I'm going to put the call to action in the middle of the video today. If people have a referral in Metro Detroit and they want to send you something, how do they do that? As probably as well as, how do leads get a hold of you?
Most of them, a lot of them just find me on my website. So it's movingmi.com. It's really easy. I was surprised nobody had that. And there's just a button just to contact me. So it's one call to action when you go to that site. So I had a bunch of information on there. Now it's basically like, hey, I've been on the news a whole bunch and I'm on YouTube. Contact me. So they go there and like, oh, he actually knows what he's doing. Somewhat. So right. So that, but in the description, like, if you can't find my information, like
it's a problem.
It's in there. It's all in there. It's all in there. And I think I took my cell phone out of most of my stuff, because that got to be a little overwhelming, but it's still in some stuff. So usually the website, just the contact me button on my website.
If people call me and they say that they found me on YouTube and it's my cell number, I'm like, you watched an old video, because I like 3 years. Yeah. The deep cuts. I think it was 3 years ago. I stopped putting my cell phone on there only because I wanted to be able to, like, direct the video or, like, direct the leads, and also be, like, very, very sure that this was a YouTube lead. And so, yeah, every once in a while they're like, hey, I found you on YouTube. I'm like, how the heck did you find this number?
Cuts. It's YouTube resurfacing those videos with the right video at the right time.
Dude, right? It's crazy. I go back to some of my stuff. We put out videos for 7 years now, and like, wild to see like some of the videos that at the time only had 10 views now have thousands. And I'm like, these are garbage videos. And yet literally thousands of people have watched them.
And so that's a question for you. Do you leave all of your old content up, or have you pruned some?
Yeah, I think I've pruned maybe 20. Nothing crazy. Something that, you know, I thought to be true that now I don't think is true, and I don't want out there, maybe I've hidden. Some of the first ones that were really bad when I first tried to deal a little bit more. Like I started as a builder home tour. Like I would just go around doing home, like model home tours, like with my cell phone. They're horrible. Those are pretty much still up. Some of the ones that I went outside of that, like if it wasn't in my buckets, where it was like, I don't know, like a theme park review or some other random stuff that like just doesn't stay true to my channel. Like I've delisted those, or I've unlisted those.
Yeah.
And the reason why I was told to do that is because like apparently if you hide some of your videos, you kind of are taking away some of the algorithm from YouTube. And I think that that's like really important to understand. Speaking of algorithms, are you popping over on Instagram, TikTok? Are you doing any short form?
I just started a new Instagram that's community based. Just started it. It's like brand new.
Cool.
I've been talking to
or something else.
It's a Metro Detroit Insider.
Cool.
So I figured, hey, why not? Like I'm there anyways, and I didn't really want to take over my entire personal profile. I still want to have like my kids. You know, I have a toddler, and I still want them involved in like my stuff.
Sure.
So I didn't want it to like completely take over my personal. So, but I want to keep it along the same lines of my YouTube content creation, but like just have it there too for local people.
Yeah, that's smart.
Well, I was going to ask you if that makes sense, but that absolutely makes sense to you.
No, totally. Yes, that's what we do. But no, it makes a lot of sense. I think the cool thing about Instagram, anyways, like I'm not a huge TikTok fan, although we have a TikTok. It's just repurposed Instagram stuff. I just feel like you can build community with Instagram. I feel like, you know, people are messaging you there. They get to see your stories, which disappear after 24 hours, and they're messaging you. And the amount of times that people follow even my personal Instagram or find me somewhere else online and then follow me there and then eventually convert. They're like, oh, I found you on YouTube 2 years ago, but I've been following you here for the past year. And you're like, obviously know what you're doing. Now we're ready to buy or sell. That's great. Like to me, it's just this like extra layer of incubation that I think a lot of people miss.
I love that. I mean, like you're the master at it, man. Like it's like how many people do you have on your team total, like on the media side?
So we'll call it media and marketing 9. But like, so Chase is our marketing manager. He has, there's like a marketing assistant who does like graphics and some stuff with our website. Then we now have 3 videographers. We just hired 2 in the past 2 weeks. So we're 3 now. We have a short form editor, and those are the 6 that are like, and then we've got a photographer who's like our listing photographer, but then also goes around town. And then we have 2 contract writers that help us with like when there's breaking news, like I'll send a media release to a contract writer. They'll blog it up and put it on our website for us. Just to kind of like help with Google Juice, which has been fantastic. So 9, but like 7 of them are on staff.
Man,
yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, our thing is like YouTube's still our biggest thing. Like my personal YouTube channel makes up 35% of the 350 million that will close this year. So over 100 million this year from my YouTube channel. But I'm just like, I've got all these great agents that are great. You know, they know the area as well as I do. So I'm like, we need to be growing out Instagram accounts and another YouTube channel that is more like neighborhoody. Cause like my channel is more, it is area tours and some listing stuff, but it's very development heavy. Like here's the new 1,000 units coming by Pulte, and here's what's going to be in the neighborhood, or like here's the big things happening in Orlando. So I think we can do probably 2 more separate channels, like one all things in Orlando that's going on, and then build that out, and then a kind of home tours channel with my team. So that's why we have the 3 videographers. So I'm like, now I've proven the one works, so why not invest in blowing it up? So I think that's going to be the unlock to getting to a Billy. So that's my goal.
So so you're planning on growing out three separate channels total?
Yep.
Man.
Yeah. So we've got the bandwidth for it. Like we got it doesn't have to be me anymore. Yeah. Like I'm going to be on the main channel. I'll make guest appearances on the other ones, but it'll be mostly my team that's doing it. And then same call to action and it just becomes like, you know, basically 3 big brands.
I love it. I love it. I mean,
I'll let you know in 12 to 24 months if I was right or not, but I think we're onto something.
No, I think that it can work. I think that it will work. But like, I don't know. I've never tried anything like that.
You never tried it until 4 years ago. And then this is the crazy thing. Do you think 5 years ago like somebody said like, hey, if you get into YouTube, you could make millions of dollars on YouTube?
I think it was no, because when I would think about YouTube, I thought about like, you know, tips about buying a house. It was a different mindset.
Sure.
And that's why I think exploring other channels that are not in our space was so powerful for me, because I'm like, well, if I take a step back and I look at what other people are doing outside of the real estate space, because I think they're all starting to look the same, right? Like all the channels are starting to look the same. So you have to differentiate yourself. So you have to look a little bit different.
That's why I should just start dyeing my hair purple at this point. Like, hey, it's the purple filter. Yeah, that'll go well.
Purple Posic?
Purple Posic, yeah.
I love it. I love it.
No, that's smart. Yeah, getting outside of your niche and like understanding like, okay, you know, you're not going to be Mr. Beast. And you're not going to be buried alive in Detroit for 24 hours, although that would be actually fire.
I'd watch it.
I'd watch that in a minute. But like, yeah, looking at what they're doing that you can actually bring back and differentiate. I think that's a great point. As we wrap up today, like what are some, maybe what's 2 or 3 things people should be thinking if they're considering going down this journey, or they just want to improve?
Well, I would say stick with it. Like you have to stick with it. And, you know, a lot of times people will talk about the consistency thing, like you have to upload once a week. And I think that a lot of that just stems from, you just have to keep flexing the muscle. You just have to do it.
That's right.
And I was really consistent for a long time. And then I realized that like one good piece of content could really change a lot of things for my thing. And don't get discouraged. Like I know a lot of creators, they'll start making videos and then they abandon the channel because they don't see it moving quite in the same way. They don't see that success immediately, but there's a lot of competition out there. So you just have to, and be yourself, I guess, be yourself. That would be my one biggest, you know, don't try to be another creator, because people will hire you because you are you and you have your purple hair, right?
So, when I'm Purple Posic, there'll be less people to call, but they will be committed.
Yeah, they'll be like, I'm all in. This guy looks like Grimace, but I'm all in.
Paul, man, thanks so much. Again, so if people want to refer you in the Metro Detroit area, it's movingmi.com. That's the best place?
Yep. That's the best way to get a hold of me.
Dude, thanks for being a stud. Appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.